Hello and welcome. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and you're watching Easynomics on Business Today television. We are counting down to the latest data for consumer price inflation for the month of August that is set to be announced shortly. And this data, by a majority of opinion that has been polled, economists, suggests that inflation will moderate a little bit on a month-on-month basis for the month of August. Now remember that July CPI inflation had hit a 15-month high of 7.44%, well above the upper tolerance level of 6% that the Reserve Bank of India and the Monetary Policy Committee have set for themselves in terms of consumer price inflation. Several economists suggest that the moderation is likely to mean that the CPI reading will come in at around 7%. There is in fact a forecast of between 6.8 to even as high as 7.3, the median somewhere in between. If inflation were to fall, while it would suggest that the price pressures that had built up on account of unseasonal price variations in vegetables, particularly tomatoes, which proved to be the new onions this season, it will still be above the 6% upper end. And remember, the inflation band that our policy makers have set for themselves is between 2 to 6%, and 4% is something that is seen as a comfortable level. This immediate dip, if it were to come true, and we are actually counting down to that, will also suggest that some of the unseasonal monsoon, climate-related variations that happened may be a thing of the past. However, there are other negative elements that are happening. Oil prices have firmed up and crossed the $90 to the barrel, beg your pardon, mark just recently. Now let's take a look at the trends since February for CPI. If we were to bring those details up, the February CPI reading was at 6.44%. March it was 5.66%. The month of April saw a decline to 4.7%, May at 4.3%. And inflation started to firm up again from June. June was 4.81%, and then that big uptick to 7.44% in the month of July. Why is inflation watch very, very significant? Because it is clear that any kind of price rise will lead to a situation where monetary policy will come under pressure. And we have the numbers. The India CPI combined inflation rate is at 6.83% versus 7.44%. Breaking news. Let's bring that up on the screen. The August CPI number at 6.83%, well below the estimate of 7% inflation numbers right up there. August CPI at 6.83%. Breaking news at this stage. Consumer prices have softened on a month-on-month basis. We also have industrial growth numbers. July industrial growth at 5.7% versus 2.2% in the same month last year. So significant uptick when it comes to industrial growth. CPI rural inflation at 7.02% versus 7.63% of July. Urban inflation at 6.59% versus 7.2% in July. The big headline number at this stage, August CPI combined inflation rate at 6.83%. You can see the difference that has come about. This is obviously good news for the markets. Food price index is down 0.7% on month. The combined index is down 0.1% on the month. And I'll repeat the urban and the rural inflation numbers. Both urban and rural inflation have declined 6.59% versus 7.2%. and rural inflation at 7.02 versus 7.63%. Cereal and products index for the August month CPI is up 1.4%. The combined food price index is down 0.7%. The vegetable index, this had caused significant pain in the month of July, is down at 5.9% month on month. Pulses and products index is up 1.5%. We are seeing some firming up of prices there. Oils and fats index is up 0.1% on the month, and we are getting more details, granular details of inflation. But the big headline at this stage, viewers, is that the August month inflation has dipped and has dipped to 6.83%. It's still well above the comfort range. So don't expect the RBI to put its foot off the brake in some ways. It will continue to monitor and watch prices very, very closely, because as you see some more of the data, the foods beverage index is down 0.5%. Housing index is up 0.6%. The clothing footwear index is up 0.2%. The fuel and light index is up 0.2%. The miscellaneous index is up 0.3%. So what are we seeing in this data? We are seeing that vegetable prices have softened. That was an immediate pain point. But a lot of the products, manufactured products, are seeing certain amount of buildup. Housing buildup is significant, as we have seen input prices go up, and that is obviously something that will be looked at in terms of the fine print by the Reserve Bank of India, because these numbers continue to tell us that inflation as a worry has not gone away. The recent spike has come down, but it was expected that it will happen in that manner. However, the inflation remains well above the comfort range that the RBI has, and that has implications for monetary policy going forward. Viewers, that was a quick snapshot of the latest inflation data. Markets will take a close look at this data, and once they open tomorrow, Wednesday morning, there will be some amount of detail that will be seen. Core inflation has also softened. I have that data as well now, viewers. 4.8% versus 4.9% in July. And we also have more details when it comes to industrial growth. Mining sector growth at 10.7% versus a negative 3.3% a year ago. Manufacturing sector growth at 4.6% versus 3.1% a year ago. July electricity sector, now I'm talking about IIP and not CPI, viewers. July electricity growth is at 8% versus 2.3%. So just see the amount of increase in electricity. Primary goods output growth at 7.6% versus 2.5%. Capital goods output is down at 4.6% versus 5.1%. So two different sets of data, and as we try and bring them up, industrial growth is up. Consumer price inflation is softening a bit month on month. Infra goods output, again looking at the IIP, infra goods output at 11.4% versus 4.8% a year ago. Consumer durables negative 2.7% versus 2.3%. Again, tallies with what has been happening as far as the market is concerned. Intermediate goods output growth at 1.9% versus 3.7%. Consumer non-durables output have growth at 7.4 versus minus 2.9. And I told you about durables, that is in negative territory. So a mixed picture as far as growth is concerned. We are seeing a significant uptick in manufacturing, in mining, in electricity, in primary goods, in as well as intermediate, as well as infra goods, but we are also seeing a softening somewhere else. The June industrial growth numbers have been revised to 3.8% versus 3.7%. So the Indian economy firing on several cylinders, even though there is some heat that is being generated on account of prices. But that's all that we have for you on this short data update on Easynomics. We'll be back with more. Until then, goodbye.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Business Today and Ask